It really is an exciting opportunity. I appreciate the invitation from Dr. Fu and from the board to organize this panel discussion today because, like me, I'm sure many of you woke up today with a television on or a streaming service or a radio, and you're hearing constantly in the media now about the economic disruption, not just in North America, but around the world. Things have changed so rapidly in Q1 of 2025 that it's a little hard to keep track of it. It's a little hard to integrate the impact of these changes on the US economy, on individual economies and individual budgets, and how families and small businesses will fare. And we're very fortunate today to have with us 4 leaders from business, each of whom is the chief executive for their organization. They represent very different parts of the economy and will bring us very different perspectives by which we can begin to think about the disruption that's affecting us all. So I'd like to start by asking my panelists, or our distinguished guests, to please introduce themselves, and perhaps we can start with Barbara Jaffe.
As an introduction or more?
As an introduction to begin with, and then we'll...
Okay. Barbara Jaffe, and as I said, I might not be very popular today. I'm with Morgan Stanley, and I portfolio analysis. So when I get into mine, I'll tell you a little bit about what you can look at and maybe compare.
My name is Pete Beringer. I am the founder and part owner of a giant candy store downtown Jacksonville. We have 22,000 square feet, and we're sort of a mini tourist attraction with a restaurant and just a lot of things related to candy going on.
My name's Ross Schilling. I am an artist manager in the music business, manage music national worldwide talent, and have investments in Airbnbs and whiskey company and a number of other things, so kind of diverse in that regard.
My name is Nathan Collier. I am the 92% owner of the Collier Companies, which in turn owns 13,000 apartments around the state of Florida. I kicked myself up to chair from CEO about 10 years ago, Mike.
I thought it might be useful. You can hear the diversity we have on this panel and the interesting perspectives that we're going to be able to be informed by. And I wonder if I could ask the panelists now to each take a few moments to tell us, what are your top 2 or 3 issues today, this morning, that you're concerned about with your company that is related to some of the disruption we've seen in Q1? Do you have specific things that are affecting you? And if so, we'd love to hear about it. Nathan, you want to start?
I've got bad news. There's a tsunami of rent increases coming out there. This economy had 10 years of cheap money. We have $1 billion out of fixed rate money. 18 months ago it was at 4%. As they roll over, it's at 4.3, and it's headed to 5.5% to 6%. And that in our real estate's incredibly capital intensive. That's at least 50% of our cost structure. And there's nothing I or any other owner of apartments can do about it. It's coming. And the other thing is we're about to have a drop in supply. That cheap money, we got a lot of development out there, and when money got expensive, fastest Fed rate rise in history, new starts dropped. And that means deliveries, because we have a 3 to 5 year cycle, are starting to drop in 2025 and 2026. And there's not the new starts to make up for that. So you're going to have a supply shortage as well. Sorry, but that's the facts.
Ross, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, looking forward, I would say, obviously, I manage a rock and roll band, Leonard Skinner. So, I mean, this summer we worry about, obviously, concert tickets, selling tickets, and you see the concerns and if inflation and things, and you see what's the first thing to go in your extra income is going to be that entertainment dollar. So that affects all of us in terms of travel and tourism, concert tickets, Airbnb rentals, theme parks, all of those things. So I think going to restaurants, the entertainment dollar goes across all various spectrums. So those are the things you're going to see cut, and it certainly can be concerning to all of us. So that's what those will be some headwinds we all look at.
Pete, what do you think?
Well, in terms of the first quarter of this year, I mean, I haven't really experienced a lot of what we'd say disruption, but I would think like prior to this, my main concern has been inflation because over the last few years, it's been kind of out of control. So as somebody who manufactures and somebody who uses a lot of different materials to make things, it's just gone up astronomically, and especially the price of chocolate's out of control. And I look at I don't know what's happening now is sort of not, it sort of pales in comparison to what we've been dealing with. Like I come from a different world though than probably the rest of you on the panel, so my experience is a lot different, but it mostly, my pain or concern would relate more to the materials I have to buy and how expensive everything's gotten. And, I worry about that in the future. In a future, is somebody going to be able to create a business like mine in the future? Are the numbers going to make sense in the future? And so I guess that's kind of what I worry about.
Sure.
I'm on?
You are.
I'm
Huzzah.
quite on,
Yeah.
yes. I started doing financial work in 1978, so before a lot of you students were even thought of. And the markets do not like uncertainty, but my whole investment career has been about uncertainty. And when I was hired in 1987, excuse me, I was the first hire in 10 years because the markets had been so bad. Then came, in 1978 that was, in 1987 there was a big crash that took the market down 25% in just a few days. So similar to what we're going through now, we had the 2000 tech bubble where anything that ended in a .com was wonderful. And then it all came to a bitter end. The next year, 9/11, we had planes crashing into buildings. In 2008, we had a housing bubble, a real estate bubble. Then we had COVID more recently that you're familiar with because it disrupted your educational career. So my life as an investment person has been filled with disruptions and uncertainty. So my biggest challenge now is keeping my clients, my portfolio, keeping it straight, understanding that this will pass and that you need to look at what opportunities it presents to you.
Barbara, you ended, I think, on a really important note. Right now, in the midst of so much uncertainty, I feel like communication is a key issue. It's the message that leaders are projecting, the storyline that organizations are embracing. And I wonder, as leaders of your institutions, how do you think about communicating, A, to your outside stakeholders and your customers or your clients, but then how do you also communicate to your staff who may be concerned about losses in economy and the possibility of job instability?
Well, and I read yesterday more layoffs from different financial institutions, and that'll happen because as revenues are down, then that's what we get paid on assets. And my group, which is 9 people, have been with me for 30 years. And we've gone through a lot of this together, and it's how I act and how, my attitude is that affects them. And I know even in hard times, I don't do layoffs. I'd rather take less for myself and my key players than to lay off these other people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Pete, with your employees or your customers, are you beginning to hear concerns being expressed with them? Are you counseling your folks?
Well, I know my customers, like, I do have like a large middle class customer, a lot of minorities, and that's kind of our customer base, and they've been getting crushed. So this is something that we've been dealing with for a while. So we've done different kind of specials to bring people into the restaurant and just try to, get creative with marketing to bring people in. And like one night kids eat free and that kind of thing, just to bring people into the candy store and have like an inflation special. We've done a lot of different things like that. Fortunately, we haven't had to do a lot of layoffs, but we have in the past, like when COVID hit, we've really had to cut to the bone to survive. And we've sort of been able to lately kind of work through our issues and but I think everybody's kind of concerned, especially if you're, middle class or, working class.
Yeah.
I think all these people are very concerned right now.
I think for me, it's because I'm kind of involved in various different businesses. Like from the Airbnb front, it's like I have properties on Siesta Key on the beach. So, we just got whacked by 2 hurricanes in October, and then now we rebuilt, and I'm having, believe it or not, got them rebuilt and having pretty record business this first quarter in terms of rentals. But I know that could be a false narrative moving forward, and seeing what happens there. On the concert front, I worry about, obviously selling tickets, but I also think it can create opportunity because you want to try to always give, value to the fan or the consumer. So just like we'll see, the first week of May, if you are interested to go see your favorite artist perform, Live Nation does across the entire spectrum of shows that you see out there for pretty much every act. There'll be concert week, and they'll do 2-for-1 tickets or discounted tickets, and various, obviously the more popular shows, they might only do 50 tickets a market, but some that are not selling as well, they might be 5,000 tickets that are at the 2-for-1 range. So you have to be willing to pivot and also create opportunity and create value for the consumer in some capacity. So from my businesses, that's what we try to do, and hopefully kind of weather the storm, So like Barbara was saying, if you watch the markets over, historical data, they don't go up and just go back down. I mean, it's constantly up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and hopefully moving forward. So hopefully we'll get through this, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah, very. And down at your end, Nathan, what do you think?
My personality loves stability. Other than our construction funding, everything is 10-year fixed money. I gave up a lot of money in the decade when money was cheap, but variable. And I got friends who went variable, and believe me, they're on the edge of bankruptcy and doing workouts, and I'm sleeping well. I'm in real estate because it's one of the most stable value sectors out there, and within real estate, apartments is the most stable of stable. And until people find a way to sleep online or U.S. population declines, it will stay stable.
That's a great message. Thank you for that. We're kind of done up here.
I had a chaotic childhood. So I moved 21 times in the first 11 years of my life, and I've lived in the same location for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
So I'm compensating.
And we're glad to have you here. So I like something Ross was talking about, the possibility that with disruption, there can always be opportunities, that it can provide new areas for growth, or it can provide opportunities to get ahead of the local competition. Do any of you see opportunities in your industries that you think is going to come from this?
I'm going to jump in real quick. We have an expression in real estate. It's called third owner real estate. Just because the first guy loses money doesn't mean you're making money. Sometimes it's not the third owner that you finally get a stabilized valuation.
Yeah. So I think that means there's not an opportunity?
Okay. There's a saying that, if a bank lends you $100,000, you're a debtor. They lend you $10 million, you're partners. Okay?
Yeah.
And often the existing owner, 99% of the time, is the most vested person, and the bank does not want that back. They'll only take it back if you think you're a screwball or dishonest.
Yeah.
They'll work with you because that's the best way for them to recover the most money. I mean, I could tell you stories of the Great Recession, et cetera. That's the basic truth.
Yeah, well, great. That's really interesting. I had no idea. I don't deal in $10 million very often. How about this? Other opportunities? Barbara, you see opportunities in the market?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you have to look at the individual company, and also there are so many public companies that are travel and leisure, that companies that you might be looking to go to work for or work with, that you can look at what their history is during these times of disruption and see how they came out of it and what changes they made and whether those are of interest to you. But yeah, I mean, if a stock, I mean, American Express was down, what, a couple hundred, 100 points or so in the last few days. I mean, did the company really lose that much? Not lose in terms of earnings, but it was emotions. So during emotional times, which I think as Nathan was talking about with the banks, during emotional times, you want to keep a steady mind and look at things in the right perspective. And you as graduates and doctorate candidates, you want to look at the companies that you're the most interested in, and a lot of the weak players that work for those companies now will leave or will be let go, but they'll be hiring new ones, the bright, smart ones like you guys.
There you go. That's an opportunity. Pete, you were talking about sometimes having sales or specials or promotional campaigns around challenges. Is that an opportunity for your shop?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity. I mean, there's always an opportunity when there's something chaotic happening.
Well.
There's always something that comes out of it that you can build on. And so I know we've come up with some certain types of promotions that have come out of different, maybe chaotic events. I could tell you one thing that we do that's works very well for us. We've done with Groupon, and we have something called the Chocoholics. And so we do a Chocoholic Groupon, and what it does is it brings people in. It gives people kind of a good deal, but it brings people into the store, and sometimes just having bodies come in and people, and we can sell them candy. And so there's always opportunities here too. And what I hope happens is, you know, that as things settle down, maybe another opportunity is that we can source things that our neighbors make instead of overseas. Maybe that's a good thing. So I just, you know, I hope this thing just shakes out well, and I think there are always going to be positives and negatives, and you can always find, you know, things you can build on.
You know, you just mentioned the overseas component of your business, and I think a lot of what the media says has driven the drop in the stock market over the last couple of days has been the president's announcement on Wednesday night about tariff rates, which were perhaps broader than were expected and in some cases higher. Does international exchange, or will these tariffs have any particular predicted effect on your shops, or do you think that y'all are pretty much local and insulated from that? Ross, what do you think?
Well, you know, for me, I was just kind of thinking about what's going on, but, you know, I have artists that want to buy, you know, when you see all the T-shirts for sale out on the road, you know, and that blank T-shirt usually is not made in America. I mean, it's, you know, made overseas. And when we try to find, some of my clients want to buy and sell American products. And we try to find that blank T-shirt in the United States, it's double the cost to have it manufactured overseas, shipped here on a carrier, and then obviously brought on a semi truck to have, you know, a band's name put on the front of it. So if that changes and levels the playing field somewhat, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, especially for those people that want more jobs or products made in America. So I could see that happening. It's just, you know, it's going to take a second, but I go back to COVID. I think in my industry, we were the first to shut down and the last to come back because they didn't want people in large groups in an arena watching a concert or seeing a sporting event or whatever. So when that took us out, we were the last ones down, or the first ones down and the last ones back, and trying to explain to a guitar player why he can't go out and perform is sometimes pretty difficult when that's all they know. So it was extremely challenging, but with that challenge brought opportunity. And then when we came out of it, we had record numbers in the summertime of 2021 and 2022 because people were so starving for interaction and live music and camaraderie and being with each other. So as we look at a big 30,000 foot view of what's going on, I think we can sustain this and weather the storm.
It sounds like international exchange is not that big a deal for your industry, at least in that regard.
I mean, like I'm taking the band to Europe this summer, so
Except for that.
so we're going there. I mean, I'll be in Barcelona and Italy and Czech Republic and the UK and Germany, and right now ticket sales are robust. So I'm optimistic, but this is really new. I'll see what the wraps look like. Wraps are the daily counts you see on your sales over the next few days and the next few weeks and the next few months, and see how that is. Obviously, we'll be there in July, and I hope that we sustain and people want to come out and see the band play. Mm-hmm. So I'll see how that affects us on an international market. Mm-hmm. And we're releasing a record internationally. We'll see how it sells, and how it's consumed, and see if the interest is there. I imagine it will be.
Yeah. So, Nathan?
Tariffs going to add to the cost of your housing. No way around it. And right now it's very difficult to, the numbers don't work for new development unless you assume way above average rent increases in the future. The Collier Companies is internally funded. We have 7 developments of 300 apartments each going around the state of Florida. 100% $100 million each. I can't build. My cost to build a 2-bedroom apartment is $275,000. I can remember a decade or two, you could buy a nice house for that. Anyway, and it's only going up.
Yeah. So wood, aluminum, other materials, construction materials that may be coming across the border?
Well, I mean, okay. To get wood, you have to chop down a tree, and then you got to run it through a lumber mill. Lumber mills are expensive to build and take 3 to 5 years to build. And so when we had the surge of building, we didn't get any more lumber mills. They just raised the prices, and we shipped in from Canada. So we don't have any more capacity.
Yeah.
And once they get used to this fat profit margin, the prices are very sticky on the downside.
Yep. Great point. Barbara, you're real close to this issue.
Well, my looking at it is more from a 10,000-foot view, because it's very holistic of the whole industries and all of the industries, whether it be technology, and then like yesterday I saw a lot of the medical companies went up that manufacture here, that Johnson & Johnson and Merck and those companies, Procter & Gamble were up. So there are always winners to things, and being at a 10,000-foot view, I can look at the whole spectrum and say, where is there opportunity? And these are the stocks that were laggards because they weren't Novartis and they weren't Apple and they weren't, all of those. So now you have opportunities that maybe that second tier comes along, and if you look at historically, that's how it works. Yeah. So it takes insight and perseverance, and when all the world around you is losing its head trying to keep yours, is what happens. And so you just need to look at it from a 10,000-foot view.
That's wise counsel. Thank you for that. Another side of the story that I've wondered about is the issues around immigration and the issues around rising unemployment, the labor market itself. And I think all businesses depend on labor to a greater or lesser extent.
Mike, who the heck do you think are our lumber crews? I can't build without immigrants, legal or otherwise.
Yeah.
They're our hammer, they're our carpenters.
Yep.
So
They're
what are you going to do?
It's hot out there. They're our roofers.
So how do you manage that?
I don't. My general contractors do. When they can't find people, they raise the prices on me.
Yeah.
And that's on you.
So do you find that means then that your labor costs are going up, which is adding to the rising cost of the apartments?
And it slows down construction as you have delays, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, my great-granddad came over in 1866, and they didn't have visas back then. Came from Ireland and the famine they had there. But he wouldn't have let a visa stop him either, looking for a better life for his family.
Yep.
So as long as you don't have a nonviolent felony and you're willing to work, I got an open door policy.
And it must require some training to bring these folks up to speed. You don't want to put an unexperienced guy out doing roofing.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to pick that up.
Really?
I once re-roofed my own house in my 20s because I was a very thrifty guy, and I got a building contractor's license, but I did it myself. Climbed up there and did it.
Well, that's impressive. Pete,
It was a single-story house.
Pete, you look like you had something to say.
Well, I don't know. I'm in a totally different world in terms of, labor. We have a restaurant. We have a little bit of manufacturing with the candy and chocolates and so forth, and also retail sales. And so the people we employ tend to be younger people. They tend to be people in school. Yeah. And they stay with us a few years and then kind of move on, and then we bring in more people. So it hasn't really affected us because we're just in a different sort of pocket, I guess you could say.
That's interesting. It seemed like some of the data I've seen suggested that agriculture and hospitality were the two industries that were most affected by the immigration changes. And so it's terrific that yours is being insulated from that. That's great.
I just wanted to say, as I mentioned, most of the people that work for me have been with me 30 years or more. But our newest employee is my grandson, who graduated from the University of Florida.
Go Gators.
Right. And he's looking at this like, he calls me Mima. Mima, have you ever seen anything like this before? I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of times. Welcome to the real world.
In just a minute, we're going to open this up for questions from the audience. I can see students who are anxious to ask questions, as well as faculty and board members. But before we do that, I wanted one more, and in this case, it's kind of not fair because it's a guess, it's looking ahead. But in almost every one of you, in your answers somewhere, there was an issue about time. It's like what's happening now versus what's going to happen in the future. What happened in the past versus what's happening now. So I think everybody's looking for a crystal ball, and y'all are brilliant business people. How long do you think it's going to take for this to play out? When do you think we might find a period of stability? Is it weeks, months, years?
Stability is an illusion. Uncertainty is a fantasy. I have this expression I call 3 steps into the fog. I know I need to go forward, not backwards, but I don't know whether it's left, right, or straight ahead. But I can see 3 steps. And if I take 1 step forward, another step I can see. And so I continue forward, and I might end up there when I need to be over here, but it's better than being back here. Right now, I'm lucky to see 1 step.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little more bullish. But I don't know. I feel like without big risks, you don't have big rewards. And I'm excited about what the future holds. I'm personally not worried about today, and even 6 months from now, I'm more worried about what my 11-year-old son's going to grow up to and see what happens there, and see what 18, 19, 20-year-olds, what's going to happen for them 20, 30, 40 years down the road. I'm hoping and optimistic that it'll be a great thing. We'll see.
Pete, tell us about the future.
I think it's going to be awesome. No, I think there's always going to be things to freak out about, and there's a lot of noise and people just screaming at you in the media, thinking like you got to think this way or that way, or just trying to freak you out. And I don't pay attention to it. We just try to run our business, and I honestly, it's a gut feeling, but I just have a feeling like things are going to be better than they've been. I think we might be back on the right track.
I need the 2 of you on my radio more often. Barbara, how about you?
Well, you have to remember that negative headlines are going to make the news more often than positive ones. And even today, employment numbers were really good. It didn't matter. But what's going to happen is, at some point, professionals come in and start buying, and you'll see a 1,000-point up day, and everybody takes a breath. And then a week later, it goes down again. But the trend is upwards. And over time, do you believe in America? It's certainly gotten a shock lately, but it bounces back, and we've weathered a lot worse than this. And like I say, when I look back at 9/11 or COVID that you all could identify with, because this was in your lifetime and in your most recent lifetime, that it felt like it would never be the same, and it does. So you just have to have belief and continue doing the best you can, and that things will stabilize, but it's never smooth sailing. It's just the nature of life.
Wise perspective.
Mike, I wanted to say that I consider myself a radiant optimist. I may be foggy, but I am stepping forward, and I will continue to step forward.
Yep.
Don't let your highs get too high or your lows get too low, right?
Yeah. So you've heard from the experts, and they're here to answer questions. Are there folks in the audience who would like to ask a question of the panel? Dr. Fu, do we have a roving microphone that people could use?
So I'm a senior graduating in a couple months, and I just wanted to know if you have any advice you could give to, any 20-year-old going through college right now, graduated a couple years, months, like something you would wanted to hear when you were 20.
Choose experience over money.
Do whatever makes you happy. And I know it's very cliche, but if you're not happy in your career or whatever your pursuit is, other good things won't come with it. And I think whatever you do, find your passion and find what makes you happy. Because if you go chasing money or chasing the wrong thing, I think you're not going to find it. And that's what I've always done, is try to find what makes me happy and what I want to do every morning and wake up and do. So
I think that's excellent advice. Actually, if you're starting a business too, you want to do something that you love, and that it's not going to feel like work, because you're going to put a lot of time and effort into whatever it is you're doing. And if you are doing something that you love to do, it just comes naturally.
And also remember that most likely what you start at when you graduate is not where you're going to end. That it's, I think Nathan said it, it's the experience that you're getting that will help you make those decisions and open up those opportunities as you go along. Unless you're, a doctor or something, where you start, you're probably not going to end your career there either.
yeah, they say you have 3 careers over your life. So kind of take that for what it's worth too. So
Other questions from the audience? A young lady here in the center.
Does your guys' definition of success, does it change with market trends? Or are you guys kind of like essentially, how would you each define success?
Thank you for that question. You can see you've stumped them.
I experienced a period of poverty and chaos in my childhood, and so my original goal in life was to have a moat against the uncertainties of life. I started investing in single-family homes, owner financed, because I didn't have any money. I got up to 25 houses. I was about 30 years old. And, I was making, 1980, I was making $40,000 a year, which is a good income. So I retired. And that lasted 90 days. Read a lot of science fiction, et cetera, and I got bored. And I decided I was going to go for the gold medal in business. And when you're standing on that podium in the Olympics, you don't do it for the $300 for the gold. You do it because one bright, shining moment, you were the best in your field. So I wrote myself a check for 9 zeros and set out to cash it. And it's been the journey. It's been throwing myself up against mountain after mountain after mountain. It's been fun and loved it. I can't imagine living any other way.
What was the question again exactly?
How do you define success?
Well, for me, from my personal experience, I was sitting in the same seats as you guys. So, I put myself through college, one of 5 siblings, the first one to go to college. And my father was a forester, so lower income, middle class, Smokey the Bear, if you see the towers around the state of Florida. And my whole thing was, oh, wow, I can't wait to make $100,000, and I graduated in 93, and I thought that was a ton of money. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to make $100,000. And then that happened relatively quickly. And then I was like, I want to make $1 million a year. How do you make $1 million a year? And you kind of, you get there, and then you realize the story is, it didn't really matter. I mean, when it was all said and done, that doesn't drive me now. It's like people around me seeing their success and seeing their happiness, seeing my son's happiness, seeing my clients have victories. It's like all that kind of comes with it once you kind of relinquish that, pursuit of financial gain. And it's hard to do, believe me, because I guess we're so wired, with capitalism and things of that nature in our country. But I think that's where I found true happiness and success is seeing other people's accomplishments that I work with and touch.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things she said was, has your definition of success changed over time? And I think for me it has. So it used to be when I was in my 20s, I thought of success as just earning a lot of money and being wealthy and all this stuff, the things that go with that. And then over time, it's sort of just become like, am I happy with my life and happy with the things that I've got going on and my marriage and all these other things that kind of become more meaningful as you get older. And so that's kind of like how I look at it now, is just being happy and with the things that you have in your life and not worried about other things that you might have when you were younger. So definitely it's changed for me.
When I was 30, I found myself, I was divorced with 2 children and not a lot of money. And that's when I started. I had been a journalist before, and this was now my next career, other than being a lifeguard before that. So my goal at that point was very materialistic, that I didn't want to be dependent on my family for money, that there were too many strings attached to that if I could work for 10 years and make $1 million, I could have a $50,000 income for life. That sounded like a great goal 40 years ago. Well, not to talk about inflation or anything since then. I got to be 40, I had made that goal, and I'm now 77 and I'm still working because I love what I do. I get to work with my 2 sons, my grandson now, and I keep telling my children I'm going to quit working, and they're like, no, Mom, and Mima, that's people like people old to be looking at their money. And so I love what I do, except on days like this, which are challenging, and I keep doing it until I guess I can't or not able to anymore, and I consider that successful. And I think as Nathan or another one of our panelists said, it's seeing my family grow and everybody happy, and that I can enable a lot of things to happen with my children and grandchildren.
Mike, I'm going to say that success is complex, and your definition will change over time, and if it doesn't, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn once said that every disciplined effort has multiple rewards, and much of my success is due to the 400 people that work with me, and they're an incredible bunch. But if I had not worked hard, and I mean hard, be worthy, emotionally, maturity of the mantle of leadership, and grown my EQ. When I was 20, 30 years old, I had no emotional intelligence whatsoever. And I could not have created and led the organization that I now have. And folks, I made investments. I don't call them sacrifices, but I made them investments. I didn't have a child until I was in my mid-20s. I'm mid-55. I was 55 years old and holding a newborn in my arms. And it mellowed me out. Angela, my chief of staff, will tell you. And one of the most wonderful things. But I also had the resources to provide for him and protect him. And folks, I will stack our 401k plan and our medical campaign up against anybody but the governments. I take care of my people. I'm a protector and a provider. And that's part of my definition of success, being able to do that.
It's actually fascinating and really heartening the way this conversation has evolved over the course of the morning. We started off talking about disasters in the stock market and tariffs, and now we're talking about the things that really matter, with your family and friends and having a career that's meaningful to you and satisfying. Thank you all very much for that. I don't want to cut it off too early. Are there other questions from the floor?
I do have one. First of all, thank you so much. I love your stories, and thank you again for the generosity of your time, your experience. I heard a story about you. It's about excellence, brilliance, resilience. So I would like to ask our panelists, would you tell our faculty, students, staff about some tips about your resilience, excellence, and brilliance? Anything you would like to share? Thank you.
Are you talking about the pursuit of excellence that drives you? I think, like, for me, it's like we like to create an environment where people are kind of awed and inspired when they walk in, and create a destination where people can have fun together with their friends and family, kind of an experience that's an escape from the world around you. And so we've created this sort of magical candy wonderland that we've taken an older building that's transformed it into this sort of magical candy place. And it's fun for me to see people interact and come and visit our store, because people have so much fun, and especially the kids with the field trips, and their eyes light up. And so everything that we do is just kind of inspired by that, and trying to get better and make it more fun for the people who come to visit us every day. And so I guess that's our pursuit of excellence. That's what drives us.
The long-distance runner Steve Prefontaine once said, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice your gift. And I knew the good Lord didn't put me on this earth to be ordinary. And so I decided a long time ago I was going to try to be my best self more often. If I were to pick one word to describe me, it's always been driven. And I want to make the world a better place, and I want to be the best person I can be.
I mean, for me, I kind of, when I go back to, obviously, I was here, I was SGP chairman and producing concerts for the students with being a student. But I guess even to this day, when I'm in an arena and the lights go down, I still get goosebumps, on my arm when the band hits the stage and that first note hits and the crowd roars, and you're taking people on a journey for 3 or 4 hours away from high gas prices or paying the rent or doing this or doing that, and that sense of escapism. I think we all need that, because reality sucks sometimes. And so I think, that's what I always look forward to, and it's always very special to me.
I would say, if you look at my industry, I'm, whether you buy Marriott or Disney or Coca-Cola from me or anyone else, you're getting the same stock. But what we can deliver to our clients is excellence and service that they tell us time and time again that they can't get anywhere. And that's when anybody comes to work for me, I tell them it's a lifetime commitment, that this is not a pass-through. And I think it's their attitude that they're so proud. We pay more than anyone else, we bonus more than anyone else, but I couldn't do it without them and their commitment to excellence too, and that makes me feel very happy.
What a wonderful point on which to end. I think we are very grateful to this panel for their excellence during the past hour and the wisdom that they've given us. Please join me in thanking them.
Thank you so much, Dean Reed, and our distinguished guest speakers, panelists, and one of our panelists, Mr. Pete, prepare some candies. So on your way out, pick up one, and also some contact information. If for any reasons you are in Jacksonville, that is one of my favorite attraction. And again, thank you all so much. My takeaway is read your palm. The best way to predict your future is to create your future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.